I once made a comparison between certain aspects of the way economic policy is done and the way that modern warfare is done. Modern warfare has tried to dehumanize, to take out the sympathetic element. So you drop bombs from 50,000 feet, you don't know who they're landing on, you don't see the damage, you're flying very high up, and it's almost like a video game. Where modern warfare, you talk about body counts, dehumanizes the whole process. It's the same thing in economics, where you talk about statistics and don't think about the people that lie behind those statistics.
Y quería morir en cuanto sea, sobre el agua. Cualquiera fábrica, ¿no? Cualquiera que tenemos aquí en Bolivia, pero todo está privatizado, pero agua nos hemos rescatado.
Sí, el Banco Mundial condicionaba al gobierno boliviano una cierta cantidad de préstamos a cambio de que el gobierno privatice el agua en Cochabamba. Quisieron convertir el agua en una mercancía, quisieron quitar a los seres vivos de un recurso tan vital para la existencia. A la semana de la firma del contrato con la empresa Aguas del Tunari, las tarifas de agua aumentaban entre un 30 y un 300%. Quiere decir que cada familia en Cochabamba tenía que destinar 25% de sus ingresos solo para pagar el agua. Se eliminaban también las fuentes de agua que eran propiedades de los campesinos, y esta propiedad colectiva de las fuentes de agua, denominado usos y costumbres, pasaban a propiedad de las empresas mediante un mercado de aguas. Y finalmente la ley, muy sutilmente, muy entre líneas, indicaba que estaba prohibido acumular agua de la lluvia. Por lo tanto, el agua de la lluvia también, de manera muy disimulada, estaba privatizada. Lo que más ha indignado a la gente, la empresa Aguas del Tunari nunca dio la cara a la población, fue el gobierno el que, para defender el contrato y defender la ley, sacó al ejército y la policía.
Yo no tengo piedra, no tengo palo, manos vacías. Si quieres pelear, pelearemos. En toda forma es agua, por eso la vida. Sin tomar agua nadie puede vivir, ni los animales, ¿no? Así, por eso yo no quiero que privaticen en ningún país, ni en Bolivia, ni en otros países. Hay que defender, por agua hay que pelear.
The question of how what the World Bank does is a very broad one, but let's say that the World Bank promotes poverty reduction in its client countries. Now, we do that with a mix of financial assistance by lending money to those countries and knowledge assistance, where we provide assistance in terms of knowledge, best practice, global experience, in order that countries can undertake the necessary reforms. There is no area that I would say absolutely should not be privatized. It depends very much on the circumstances. There are gradations. I would say that water and electricity are maybe more amenable to privatization than health and education. But that doesn't mean that I would rule out privatization for health and education, nor will I always advocate privatization for water and electricity.
The Washington consensus was a consensus between the U.S. Treasury, the IMF, the World Bank, three Washington institutions about what was the best strategy for economic development. It argued that the best way for countries to grow was to liberalize, reduce trade barriers, and to privatize. And over the years, the IMF, the World Bank, the U.S. Treasury, all pushed this doctrine of privatization on developing countries. The IMF and the World Bank gave a set of loans, particularly in the 80s, that were called structural adjustment. The theory behind it was that the economies needed some assistance as they went through the adjustment of the structure to liberalize and to privatize. But the problem with them was that there were very strong conditions imposed. Countries were told to get this money, they often had to cut out education or health or other expenditures that were really quite vital. Enormous cost to many of the developing countries.
In water, in electricity, and in some aspects of transport, there's been a substantial shift towards the private sector. I don't think that has much to do with the World Bank. It has to do much more with technological considerations and a general environment of people have been seeing successes around the world. There are a couple of responses to why the critics are saying that the World Bank is always pushing privatization. One is, I think critics will, by definition, always find something to blame the World Bank for. I think that some of these critics just as much will oppose any kind of privatization, whether or not it helps poor people. And we have to be aware of that as well, that there are some privatizations that actually help poor people. And we will unashamedly support those, and we will defend those, even though our critics will say, oh, the World Bank is pushing privatization.
I think the reason was basically ideological. And there were, of course, some interests that there was money to be made in the process of privatization. For instance, part of the privatization was that there were many water concessions. The companies that provided water to people, and those were natural monopolies. That is to say that there's only one firm that provides that. When you privatize, you can sometimes raise the price, generate enormous amount of profits. And so there were a few companies that saw the profit opportunity, pushed the IMF, the World Bank, to push these privatization initiatives.
Sí, yo considero que el Banco Mundial utilizó a Bolivia como una especie de pequeño laboratorio, un conejillo de Indias, un experimento. Yo creo que el Banco Mundial y las transnacionales tienen un concepto totalmente equivocado de nuestro pueblo. Piensan que somos un pueblo miserable, que no tiene dinero para dar solución a sus problemas, y piensan que somos un pueblo ignorante, que no sabe conservar y preservar el agua. El gobierno durante el conflicto procedió a la detención de una gran mayoría de los líderes sindicales y los portavoces de la coordinadora, pero la intención del gobierno no solamente era detener, confinar a varios de nosotros, sino eliminarnos físicamente.
¡Miren lo que me están golpeando! ¡Carajo, yo la policía que estoy cabrón! ¡Carajo, mira lo que me golpean!
El ejército salió con francotiradores vestidos de militar o vestidos de civil, y en estas protestas murió un joven, Víctor Hugo Daza, de 16 años, y fueron heridos más de 30 jóvenes y mujeres producto de estos francotiradores.
Compañero.
Con calma,
Compañero.
No puedo dar todo.
Pero la población derrotó en las calles y los caminos al ejército y la policía, y más bien la policía y el ejército tuvo que replegarse a sus cuarteles. Ese día no existían policías, no existían militares, no habían políticos, no habían autoridades, no había quien mandara a la población.
Compañeros, que estábamos a punto de lograr la primera victoria contra el modelo económico neoliberal.
La gente en la Guerra del Agua demostró que es posible oponerse a los procesos de privatización del Banco Mundial y de las transnacionales. Demostró que es posible organizarse, unirse y vencer el miedo, y demostró que es posible vencer. Pero ante todo, la principal victoria para nosotros ha sido la capacidad de recuperar nuestra voz, nuestra palabra y la capacidad de poder decidir como personas.
Modern economic science has identified a huge range of these instances where markets don't work. The old view that markets necessarily lead to efficiency is just wrong. Sometimes the reason that the invisible hand, which is the way Adam Smith talked about it, the market leads as if by an invisible hand to economic efficiency, the reason the invisible hand seems invisible is that it's not there. So the IMF has been wedded to this ideology, partly because it's wedded to a particular part of the political spectrum, wedded in part to special interest, has taken a particular perspective that doesn't reflect modern economic science. But unfortunately, it's trying to sell it as if it were economic science.